My name is Michael MacPhee. Some of you may know me from the annual New Dawn Scotland conferences in St Andrews in Fife. We're here in Barra on the island of Barra, overlooking the island of South Uist, Fogai, with the Eriskay in the distance behind. The faith was introduced here in the 600s and has survived through turbulent centuries, which included Viking raids, the Reformation, land clearances and modern secularism. Though these buildings are in ruins, the faith of the people is still very much alive. We're now in the building which is known as St Mary's Chapel. My great-grandparents and three of my granduncles are buried in here. This was re-roofed and some of the ancient stones were brought in here to be kept safe. An example of how the faith was shared to those who came later, some including some of my own relatives, is this Christian Nordic runic stone. This is just a replica, but the original is housed in the National Museum in Edinburgh. We're here in the village of Broornish, and this small inlet is called Craignacooley, or Vestment Rock. And during the times when it was illegal for priests to celebrate Mass, the priest would come in his boat, celebrate Mass, and then take off again before he was captured and imprisoned. At the edge of the inlet, there's a ruined house. This was the home of a young woman named Mary Gertrude, and she used to gather the youth of the village together to pray. So prayer groups and people coming together to pray without a priest is nothing new. It has happened for generations. We're here at this Celtic cross where Mary Gertrude is buried. She died at the age of 25 in 1918, and I think it's quite appropriate that the slate which now covers St Mary's Chapel came from her family home. It was brought to the island by the family's fishing boat, which is aptly named Railnamathing, which means morning star. We're here in Erligery in the church dedicated to St Vincent de Paul. In 1651, he was responsible for sending three priests, Father Dugan, Father White and Father Lumsden, to the island. When they arrived, although the island hadn't had a priest for a long time, they still found the embers of the faith still burning. And the fire of the faith was soon reignited through their efforts. And I think it's appropriate that this church is on the grounds of the house which the people responsible for the clearances once stood. On the altar you'll find a relic of the saint. We're here in St Brendan's Church in Craigston on the west side of Barra. The church is dedicated to the Irish saint who on his travels to North America stopped off in Barra and founded a church here. We're now in the village of Castleby at Railnamara, the church dedicated to Our Lady Star of the Sea. And the side altar was brought here from the abandoned church that was in Mingulay when they left the island. High up in Havel, we have the statue of Our Lady Star of the Sea, watching over our island, the Bishop's Isles to the south, and the seas that surround us. We're here in Northby in the Church of Sidbar, named after the patron of our island. This is my own parish and where I was baptised. Here at Barts Church we have our Lourdes Grotto. This was initially erected during the Marian year. The statue was bought by Canon William Fraser, whom many of you will know from New Dawn in Scotland. And since then, the community have built around here, building the stone altar, the stone walls and the seats, have made the rosary garden as well. This is the road leading down to Sidbar Church, and it holds a lot of significance for me. As here, as a young child, I was being pushed along in the pushchair by my mother when a car stopped, and out came Cardinal Godfrey, the Apostolic Delegate, who was visiting the island at the time, and he gave me his blessing. Many years later, after having watched a film about Medjugorje being shown by Canon Fraser, I was walking up home when I stopped and decided to turn around to go back for benediction. Later still, I was prayed with for baptism of the Spirit, and walking home, I received the gift of tongues, and it wasn't until later I realised the significance that is when I decided to turn around. That was the place that I was given the gift of tongues. Since its inception, we've had many wonderful speakers at New Dawn in Scotland. But for me, what I found really encouraging was just the ordinary people sharing their faith with one another in different groups, one-to-one, just sharing their own experiences, their own journeys, and helping one another. The legacy that I've described in Barra is wonderful, but the real legacy, I feel, is the prayers and the faith of the ordinary people. People like Mary Gertrude, who I spoke about, just an ordinary girl who shared her faith. And this, what I find so special at New Dawn, that this is happening all the time. And I feel that it's a spark to ignite the faith once more in our country, much the same way as the priests from St. Vincent de Paul sent to Barra. They found the remnants of the faith still burning and were able to reignite it. And I feel that New Dawn is one of these special events which will do that. And it's not just for 1 week of the year, it continues from one year to the next. I'd like to finish by thanking Douglas and Margaret Hunter, whose idea it was to bring New Dawn to Scotland. I'd like to thank the other members of the management committee and different ministries, our bishops, priests, speakers, all those who have contributed to make New Dawn what it is today. A special thank you has to go to Craig Lodge Family House of Prayer in Dalmally, who have hosted our ministry retreats. A special mention also to their community, who have been so supportive of us at our conferences in St Andrews. Most of all, I would like to thank the people who prayed. There were people praying all around the country to support us in starting up New Dawn in Scotland. Without their support, it just wouldn't have happened. I'd also like to add a special thank you to my son Matthew, who has recorded all this for me. Thank you all, and may God bless you, and the Queen of Peace watch over you always.